morning, and welcome to this week's episode of the Sacred She Soul Sessions. Today I'm joined by Juliana Lavell, one of the really good friends of mine, and she's up to so many amazing things as well as attending and co-facilitating the upcoming retreat with me. So I'm really, really blessed to have her in my life and joining us here today. So welcome, Juliana.
Thanks, Jenna.
Yeah, if we could start, maybe if you want to just tell everyone a little bit more just about who you are as a human and as a person, what you're up to in life, and then we'll jump into today's topic around plant medicine.
Sweet. Um, I am a yoga teacher and now yoga educator. So this January just started to organize and co-facilitate my first 200-hour yoga teacher training, which is super amazing and has just opened up a whole new world for me and really given me the opportunity to integrate a lot of the things that I love and that have helped me along my path. And some of which of that is First Nations and Indigenous studies and my curiosity about um, the correlations between science and spirituality. And then plant medicine being has been an important part of my personal journey. And my background a long time ago is in herbology. So kind of integrating all those things together now.
I love that so much. And I think I'm so proud of you, and it's so awesome that you're doing your teaching, your 200-hour yoga teacher training right now, which is awesome. All of your students are totally blessed to be having you for that. And hi to everyone that's joining us live. Let us know as you join in live if you're here so we know that you're here, and let us know if you have questions at all. We can pop them up and answer those as we go. So curiously, Juliana, what is plant medicine? I think a lot of people that might be tuning in, catching this, are wondering, like, what would that even mean?
Well, I think in our sort of Western culture, the word medicine, we think of the doctor or something that we're prescribed in that way. And um, I'm a big believer in the planet Earth having everything that we need in order to heal ourselves, in order to survive. And as a yogi, it's been a study, and the ancient yogis, all the sages studied the planet Earth and figured out ways to live in harmony with the earth. And a part of that is really having a reverence for the intelligence that's moving through all of creation. And and I just started to really realize this whole like paradox between the worlds where we are killing our dandelions yet selling them in the health food store now. And
Mm.
there's many different representations of that. And so I started using herbs and roots and things like that just to enhance my own vitality and well-being. And I became curious about the more spiritual plant teachers. I like to call them plant teachers because that's what they really are. Um, and so about 3 years ago, I discovered Iboga, which is my first experience with sacred plant medicine that was in the psycho-spiritual realm, which can tend to have a bit of a negative connotation in some Western cultures because they think of it like a drug. Um,
Mm.
but in indigenous cultures, it's been used for thousands of years to bring tribes together, and a beautiful way to connect with the energy of source, the energy of the earth. And on a scientific level, it's actually awakening your central nervous system channel. And on a very physical level, creates a huge purge. So I was really fascinated with my background studies in herbology and plant medicine, just like obviously really knowing that these things are real and they are healing. Um, and discovered through the Costa Rica Yoga Spa in Costa Rica, where I hosted a yoga retreat a few years ago, that people were going there for iboga treatment, for Parkinson's disease, for heroin addiction. There's so many things, even cancer, people's cancer going into remission. And I had been studying,
Powerful.
so powerful, right? Um, and so it's illegal in the United States. It is legal in the UK and in Costa Rica. I'm not sure if it's legal in Canada. I'm not quite sure about that. Um, but because it does have like a hallucinogenic effect to it, it's been kind of categorized in that negative drug context. So,
Yeah.
anyways, I experienced the iboga, and then a few years later, actually just recently, um, participated in a ayahuasca ceremony, and I just in my work with people struggling with addictions over the years of teaching yoga and starting to kind of get past the exercise part of it and really into witnessing many people having struggles with anxiety, all the neurotic patterns that come forth in the practice of yoga, and really wanting to uh, get more curious about ways that we can discover healing.
I
Um,
love that so much.
somebody's saying, "Wow, all I heard was heroin addiction." So yeah, iboga, plant medicine iboga is like renowned for its ability to um, get people out of addiction. So even smoking, like even after I did uh, iboga, I just found that my habits changed. Like I no longer was really craving alcohol. Like I quit drinking alcohol before ceremony because there's dieta that you have to follow. But I just found that the things that I used to kind of use as coping mechanisms before were no longer um, as big of a craving.
Yeah, I can relate to that. How long of a experience was that with the iboga?
The iboga was I actually found it to be a lot more intense than ayahuasca, although I know that each ceremony is can be completely different. Um, we start at nighttime. Most plant teacher ceremonies go through the night. Um,
Hmm.
and it lasted, I'd say, like at least 24 hours of like the real physical effect because it's a real cleanse of your system. It's a challenging experience. Like the whole next day, you're kind of like ugh, barely walk, just drinking coconut water and in recovery. Uh, but the more like psychoactive part of it, I'd say like maybe around like 6 hours, 6 to 8 hours, something like that. It kind of like goes and peaks and then it tapers off, and you kind of, depending on what your body needs to process, some people have a lot of parasites in their body, and that iboga purges out parasites from the gut, so can be kind of a aggressive.
Intense.
Yeah.
And I'm curious too for people that have never heard of this before, especially with some of the social conditioning that we've experienced around different sorts of plant medicines that are getting more categorized as a heavy drug in that category. What are the risks? I think some people might be asking themselves because we get so conditioned to associate with things like heroin and crack and all these more intense drugs, I want to call them, in a different aspect. So, is there a lot of risks to plant based medicine?
Um, I think what's really important is that you feel a calling towards it. They do say that the plant kind of comes to you. So I'd say to really follow intuition when, participating in these things. Also sourcing out, uh, ceremony and shamans that you really trust to guide you through,
Yeah.
because having that it's not a recreational experience. It's like you're going in as a really sacred, uh, personal ceremony. Um, so I would do your research and let it kind of come to you too. Like, but I'd say for people that are, sick or really struggling with an addiction, I would definitely get curious about it. There's a lot of um, Costa Rica Yoga Spa. Check out their website. They have a wellness center there, and it's beautifully set up for healing, and people go there for cancer treatment and things like that. So, uh,
Amazing.
yeah, I'd say like find a legitimate source if you're curious about it, and just like know that our our ancestors, or many of our ancestors, from, I think we're all connected way back there, in these indigenous tribes, have been using this for thousands of years. And like in Iboga, it's from Africa. It's from, I, I'm going to say this probably wrong, but the Ibwiti tribe in Africa. And for thousands of years, this is what they do once a year, is come together and participate in the ceremony.
That sounds so beautiful.
Yeah, and then ayahuasca, more so in South America, like
Great.
Brazil. There's still tribes that um, that do this as part of their ceremony, just
Yeah, I
well-being.
think it's meant to be like very sacred and feeling very safe. Like I like how you said it kind of chooses you in a sense where you feel pulled to it, and when you're in that energy space, you feel a lot safer. Like it should never be something where you feel forced. It should be something much more sacred with people there that you feel very, very safe with and that you're being guided.
Yeah, and another thing to consider too is these plant medicines do not participate well with pharmaceutical drugs, so you have to be
Mm.
off any kind of antidepressants, anti-anxiety, Western pharmaceuticals for a certain period of time. I think it might be like 1 or 2 months. You'd have to check with that.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And so you said more on the recent side of things, you experienced ayahuasca. So how was that experience and how would you say that contrasts? I know each person's journey is a little bit different, but what did you experience?
Well, it's interesting because they say that iboga is kind of like the father plant, and I definitely can experience iboga as like there's no bullshitting with it. Like it'll tell you what it needs to tell you, and it's like people get. It's funny. What the biggest thing that I think I've gotten out of working with plant teachers is recognizing where I need to get out of my own way,
Yeah.
because you can have so many intentions and goals and I want to create this and that's great, but knowing that there's like a whole side of it that is completely um out of our control, and it's under a beautiful divine intelligence that we need to learn how to surrender with, because it's like source energy creator, I believe, has plans for each of us that are so beyond our wildest dreams. And if we're always trying to seek and control, um, we're kind of, we can't hear that quieter voice. We can't hear and listen for the subtle guidance that I believe is our truth speaking. So that's not really answering your question, but
No, but
um,
it was still good.
yeah, ayahuasca. I didn't actually experience a purge with iboga. I know a lot of people did. It was actually harder physically. Ayahuasca, almost everyone usually has a purge, but it's like it feels like a good physical release. It's almost like a good energy healing session or a Reiki session where you feel like something has been cleared from
Hmm.
your system. And I just really felt a deep connection and reverence um, for life force energy, creator, God, whatever you want to call it. I just felt a little less afraid of death, a lot less afraid of going ahead and doing what I need to do in the world. It's like this. There's no time to spare. Just go do, follow that deeper voice. So I felt like it connected me. It connected me more with that resonance of
Powerful.
my own truth. Yeah. Whereas Iboga was like, I found it was really healing in terms of childhood stuff. Like I had some really vivid memories of my parents when I was little and things like that. That was really healing. Like it took me
Mm.
back to like a really heartwarming feelings of connection with my parents. Whereas I think that it's a tendency for a lot of us to like look back and see where our parents messed up and focus on the bad things.
Totally.
So
I feel like it's one of those things where it's really a journey, and like some people have some really intense like awakenings and realizations on their journey, and some people it's more heartwarming, it's more grounding, like more of like that connectedness feeling. And that's what I've heard. It's just such different experiences from person to person. Although at the same time, like a very similar connectedness. Like a lot, I hear often like less fear around the idea of death, as well as kind of like their purpose in the world and like going ahead, like not playing small.
totally.
And how do you think weed fits into all of this? Like, would you consider any aspects of that plant medicine? Because I mean, it's such a controversial thing, going legal in most areas, but there's still a lot of stigma around it. And I'm curious too, if you think it is plant medicine, would you think both THC and CBD, or just one or the other?
Honestly, I think every plant has the potential to be a teacher.
Mm,
And I really think that if you're drawn to marijuana, then just do it. If it feels like it's elevating you on some level or enhancing your creativity or your intuition, maybe that's what you need right now. And honoring that. I used to smoke weed a lot for many years, and then it was interesting after Iboga, I kind of like shifted, and it was just I just like took a break from it, and then I started using CBD occasionally if I had like anxiety or needed to sleep. I found
mm-hmm.
that the CBD was my new friend.
Yeah,
But
CBD is amazing.
yeah, like I think that for some people that have like, tendencies toward schizophrenia or paranoia or things like that, that THC might not serve them.
Yeah.
Whereas for some people, like, you hear of so many people where marijuana is shrinking cancer tumors and helping children with epilepsy stop having seizures. It's like, well, why wouldn't we do that? Because
Yeah. Like there's definitely some magic. Like I hear some very amazing stories around things that it's helped with. And it doesn't mean it's everybody's solution or medicine for them, but there's definitely, I think, a lot of potential there for different things for different people.
totally. Yeah, I think it's good to not like put the plant put yeses and nos or goods and bads onto um the realm of plants, because it's like all of us are a different dosha or blood type, or um, we are all comprised of different elements, and we all will need different things at different times. Like I have tons of different supplements, and I literally just take, sometimes I just get on a kick of taking ashwagandha, or I take shaga mushroom for a while. And I think it's good to like diversify and experiment.
Absolutely. And I think subconsciously too a lot our body and our soul is telling us what we need, because there's times where I'm making golden milk every day, or I'm really drawn to just cacao, or there's certain things, and it kind of changes. And I feel like a lot of the time my body is kind of pointing me intuitively of what it needs the most right now.
Totally. I think it's beautiful to honor that. And it's like the seasons change, so we naturally are going to need different things as the earth moves and things shift. So, yeah.
Absolutely. With your background in herbology, what other kinds of herbs and plants are ones that are kind of like your go-to, or ones that you are pretty knowledgeable about that you've come across on your journey?
I've really grown to love anything that's an adaptogen. So, adaptogens usually grow at high elevation. They usually come in the form of roots, such as maca, ashwagandha, um, and also mushrooms that grow at high elevation. I mean, even not at high elevation, but like chaga, reishi mushroom.
Hmm.
Cordyceps mushroom is really great for dilating the bronchioles in the lungs. Um, so it can enhance athletic performance, or if you have asthma or trouble breathing, it's a good heart opener. Um,
Adaptogens are amazing too because they help your body deal with stress. So I recommend them to almost everybody because it can help you with physical stress, like from your workouts, your yoga practice, but it can also really help you with mental stress as well. Like I have a shot of adaptogens every single morning and I think like that's like my go-to coffee, and like that's what I'm having right now. It's just something that makes me feel really good. Like that's something I can notice a change more than I ever did with coffee, and more than I would say even with tea. Like I feel an actual shift within my body when I drink adaptogens or eat.
totally. And it's like your body knows what's best. Like we give our power away way too much, I think. I I
Yeah.
find just like you go to the store and just like let yourself wonder and wander a little bit. And I find it's kind of the same thing as like you go to a crystal shop. If you're a yogi or into that stuff, you pick up a crystal that you're just drawn to and you look it up and it's like, oh, that's totally what I needed. It's often the same with our supplements. Somebody's asking what is adaptogens. So,
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
well, usually from what I kind of know, it's like they increase your ability to like intake oxygen, and so it just helps your body adapt to your environment. That
Yeah.
makes
Yeah, basically, the adaptogen is an adapter. So it helps your body do what it needs the most. So if it's physical, like with that oxygen intake, it's going to literally help you physically de-stress. Whereas it can also help you on a more emotional and mental side of things as well, and help your body release stress and take in more oxygen that way as well.
yeah,
Which is pretty cool. That's plant medicine at its finest.
totally. If you think about like things that grow really in high altitude, like a lot of the adaptogens do, it's like if a person was up there and needed to survive, these roots that survive up there are also, they're going to have the elements that you need to survive at these like harsh conditions. And harsh
Yeah,
conditions in our culture come in the form of like driving to work. It's like you don't need to be on the top of a mountain to experience stress in our system. So, yeah.
totally. Yeah, and it's cool because it comes back to the ancients, and a lot of the indigenous people and people that came before us use so many of these plants for so many different purposes. Like I know for maca that it's so powerful, and that especially men in South America would use that before and after like going into battles because it would give them such a surge of energy.
Totally. Yeah, there's so many good ones. I also love Hishu Wu.
Oh, I haven't heard of that one.
It's kind of expensive, but it tastes amazing. Like it's a root, and I think it's from China. And there's a story of with Hishiwu that there was this man that was like dying and his hair turned gray and he was like crawling through the forest in China and came upon the Hishiwu root and he just happened to like start eating it. And he went from like almost dying to like his hair growing back into black from gray and going on to like have 4 children. So
Wow.
magical plant.
I really think there is something magical to plant medicine, and for me, it's a really humbling, like very magical experience. I feel the more I explore different kinds of plants, and some of them speak to me, and some of them don't. But as I explore it, I feel like it really helps me on my own reconnection journey because I feel like I'm getting closer to Mother Earth, and I feel like I'm uncovering parts of myself and just feeling different things that maybe I hadn't allowed myself to feel before or experience before. So it's a very cool experience because it's not something that I had really experienced in my youth or known even that was a thing.
Totally. I think there's a way that we can abuse anything, you know? And I think that it's healthy that we can like sort of level the playing field with like I completely understand where like drugs are not good, you know, especially
Totally.
chemical drugs. I don't use, but there's a way that these plant teachers can bring healing and great peace and connect you to a feeling of God. It's like, and a lot of people that even are like dying of cancer and they go to do ayahuasca just as a way to help them deal with their own mortality or their own impending death. And then they end up getting healed of their cancer.
Yeah.
Like,
I think maybe sometimes too it can bring up for people when they go to these healings and they have potentially some pretty intense physical symptoms that have manifested that from what I have spoken to people about and read is that because it's so powerful, it can really make you face your demons. It can really make you go into that shadow side of things that you've been letting simmer under the surface and not address. And it can also really help on that healing journey side of things. And because well, I think all, but I'll at least say most physical ailments are caused by some sort of deeper rooted issue. At least that's what started said disease in the body. So I think that's really cool with it being a plant teacher and being plant medicine is that, you know, you might not take it, no, it immediately has reversed all the cancer cells, but maybe it's gotten you to go deeper to that issue that manifested it and started those cells to form in the first place. And I think maybe that's where a lot of healing can come for people is not only that awareness that they've had, but now that they've had that awareness, they can focus more on the healing the physical body.
completely. Yeah. Yeah. I really feel that even just experiencing ceremony and this I like have experienced participating in traditional sweat lodge and that in itself creating a sacred container, and I know you're really big into this, and I'm so excited for the retreat coming up, uh,
Too.
is creating a sacred ceremony to create intimacy with yourself, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. And
Yeah, like a vulnerability to self almost.
yeah, that's such a beautiful way to put it. And if, you know, the greatest thing I can really see that I've taken away from these ceremonies and brought to my yoga practice is just that like really pure space that I'm retrieving back to myself and like trusting myself, honoring myself as truth, my own deepest truth as being really important.
I
And
love that.
yeah. So
I'm
yoga,
curious. Sorry, go ahead.
well, I'm just saying like yoga as ceremony. And Anna Forrest is an amazing teacher who,
Mm-hmm.
you know, she brings a ton of First Nations elements into her teaching, and I just adore her.
Yeah, she is amazing. I'll link her in the comments too for anyone that's watching if you want to search her up afterwards as well.
Yeah.
I'm curious too, Juliana, because I know that you're a mama bear. So with plant medicine and having kids, like what's your opinion around that? Are you really open with your daughter around that? Is it something you're waiting to discuss more when she's older? Or like do you distinguish between ones that are adaptogens and talk about those versus ones that, are more ceremony based?
Yeah, I mean, I try to be honest with her, but I think like speaking to her about these things, I have to like get onto really onto her level.
Yeah.
Um, and I kind of just take it in baby steps. Like I let her, I obviously try to get as much good stuff into her as possible. And she, she gets it. I mean, children are very tuned in, and obviously, I'm not giving her any like psychedelic plant medicine at
No,
the
no,
time.
no.
Um, but yeah, like I tell her like what ginkgo leaf is, and she'll take ginkgo leaf, or she doesn't really like the taste of the mushroom stuff, so I just kind of let her use her own curiosity, and if um and educate her about like this is what this does, like this is what an antibiotic does, and this is what oil of oregano will do.
I
And
love that.
you know I think educating children is about those things is super powerful, rather than just battling to try to like say take this green smoothie. you know
Totally. I think it's very empowering, I think, for them as well. And because if this is something that is part of your day-to-day life, I think it's really quite cool how you include your daughter in it while still respecting the fact that she's not yet an adult, but letting her have her curiosities and experience some of these things. Obviously, like you said, not psychedelic drugs. We're not promoting psychedelics for kids, but I think it's really beautiful how you include her in the more day-to-day stuff and just let her have some knowledge where the knowledge is power, just about even the little things like what is oil of oregano and what's in these mushrooms, and let her have the choice of trying it, because I feel like a lot of the times I see two very different sides where either it's not really being talked about at all with children, or it's almost being more forced upon, where it's like you said, like drink this smoothie and there's not really telling them what's in it, but just drink this because you need to get all of the minerals and vitamins and everything that's in it.
Yeah, I always come back to making decisions that come from a place of love rather than fear. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to be like, I'm so scared you're going to get like whooping cough, so I'm going to force you to have this, whatever. It's like she is her own divine intelligent being, and she has her own intuition and her own Ayurvedic composition.
Yeah.
And so I learned from her just as much, and I think that empowering our children to heed their intuition about what resonates, and I think just having things available, like how about trying this grapefruit smoothie with some turmeric in it, and she's kind of like, oh, what's that? It looks weird, and then she starts drinking it, and then all of a sudden it's gone. It's like, you
That's
know,
awesome.
yeah.
I love it. So before we wrap up, do you have any other plant medicine, plant healing tips, or any other plants that jump to mind of ones that you think people may want to look into for themselves and see if it speaks their truth?
Yeah, I think like just I would just say get curious. If you're at a point where you're feeling that you are drawn to such things, um, just tune in and really, like, if there's a curiosity towards a certain supplement or plant, then uh, I would do some research about it. Start looking into it and ask. ask the universe for a sign that this might be for you. And that's kind of what happened for me is it would come up in conversation and I would hear other people's experiences. So that's my biggest piece of advice is just like learn how to trust yourself
Yeah.
and don't be impatient about it because let things happen and the biggest thing too is like first step is like find a sacred space for yourself where you can start to listen to the quieter voice. It's like
Yes.
the ego talks really loud, and our higher self, our intuition, speaks in whispers, I believe. And so pay attention. And yeah.
I love that. That's beautiful and super true. So, where can people stay in touch with you? I know you have a website, so I'll link that up. Is it best for people if they want to follow you on Instagram or Facebook or both?
Yeah, it's just my name everywhere. So Juliana Lavell .com is the website. Instagram, same thing. You can always send me a message if you're curious about something. Yeah, we do 200-hour yoga teacher trainings with intothemysticyoga.ca. And we're doing a retreat together at the end of
Yeah,
March, or I'll be there and you're leading the
can't
way.
wait.
Yeah,
So
so
excited for that. And also, Juliana, too, is an absolutely amazing artist, one of my favorites as well. So if you're on her website, check that out as well, just because it's beautiful in the eyes to see.
thank you.
You're so welcome. Well, I really want to thank you for joining us today. I feel like there was so much value. I know I learned some new plant medicine and plant healing tips today, and I really love how you call them plant teachers because that really, really resonates with me.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for everyone that joined us today as well. And thank you for everyone that is catching the replay of this. So just comment if you're catching the replay and let us know. And feel free to post any questions and we'll get back to you if there's something else you think about on this topic. But yeah, we'll call it good with that.
Thanks, Jenna.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I'll see you soon. And we'll see you, everyone, at the retreat that joins us for it.
Sounds good.
Okay, bye. Happy day to everyone.